What up? What up? We're back. It's FIFO. We are on episode 12, which is hard to believe. I had to actually double check that. But this is flow in, flow out, figure it the fuck out. My boy Sam Nang here. Just a brief recap. We went to high school together. We got a special guest. I'll introduce him in a sec. But we went to high school together and both share personal development type content on social media, connected for a Zoom. And the next Zoom, Sam Nang was like, hey, why don't we hit record and start a podcast? So here we are. We haven't talked in over 20 years. And we are really just kind of exploring conversation with you all. So we appreciate you guys being here. Our goal is to raise the collective vibration of all the folks that are on here. We have a special guest, Eamon Garvey. He also went to high school with us. He's got a really interesting story that we're going to dive into today. So last thing I'll let you know, episodes come out every Monday at 6 a.m., Fridays at 4 p.m. So you can catch it right there on the commute and get motivated for the week. That's what I got. How was that? I'm a little rusty today
Wow.
because we're
10. I give it a 10. I give it a 10. I give it a 10. I'm like Danny's biggest fan. I'm like, yo, you just kill the intro and I come here with just like some goofball shit. So I'm
I
back.
love it, dude. I need that positive affirmation
Yeah,
every. That's why, that's the only reason why I do this podcast is just so
hey,
Sam Nang cheers on my intros.
Varsity Blues, I give it a 10. I'm a coach as well. So I'm back from Turk and Caicos. So I'm a little bit tanner, also a little bit chubbier. So I'm back in my grind and everything. So back in our flow in, flow out. That is the title. And the first person that we wanted to bring on to the show was Eamon, but he got sick. So he's the second person on our show as a guest, and he's also a part of our Peak Performance Academy. And I brought him in from our network. I actually sat in, I think it was chemistry class right next to him for like the whole year. And we were pretty good friends from there and just kind of stayed in contact because he was in real estate at a time. I was selling real estate at the time as well, too. And we just kind of support each other because when I was building a photography business, I shot photos for his family. So I met his wife. I know him. He supported me in that, and there was a time where I was looking for a sales position, and his wife stepped up and introduced me. I didn't get the interview or get the job, but knowing that people have your back to support you and how you support other people coming back, that's why I thought Eamon would be a great guy to be on the show and talk about his experience because he's a boots on the ground guy. I know he grinds. Every time I'm talking, he's out networking, he's out selling something. So it's like he's hustling, he's doing his thing, and I'm hustling, I'm doing my thing, and I find it very inspiring that he just keeps doing it over and over and over. I was like, man, I can't do boots on the ground like I used to. I used to be boots on the ground, but now I'm on the internet. But I love him, and I brought him here, and he's a great guy. So I wanted him to just kind of tell his story and share what he's doing. And he's a big fan of the community, and we're a big fan of him as well too. So welcome to the show, Eamon Garvey.
Thank you very much for having me. That's awesome. Yeah, man. I'm stoked to be here.
You like that?
That's awesome. That is awesome. I feel like I'm like a celebrity, you know? So I've been following y'all since day one. I'm a big supporter. I'm all
You
about
are,
it.
man. You're a celebrity on the show.
So sorry I missed. I was really stoked to be the first
So,
ever guest on FIFO. But, stuff happens.
hey,
Yeah.
man, you're still here, so that's all that
That's
matters.
right.
It's all that matters. So, Eamon, why don't we do this? I know that like you and I have communicated very sparsely. Maybe like I think 2 or 3 texts or a couple Facebook messages of like, "Hey, we should get together," and it just never happened. So, I would love a refresher as to like what happened since high school. So, like, I haven't,
Yeah.
we all went to high school together, but like I haven't really communicated much with you guys. And even in high school, I said this on previous episodes, I was a little dick in high school, and like just all I wanted to do was party with, primarily our younger grades. So I didn't really get a chance to connect with my class as much, but yeah, Eamon, I'd love to hear, what's up since high school, what's your kind of journey, where you're at, what are you up to today?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I didn't leave far from home. I live in Alexandria now, right? Three awesome kids, an awesome wife who she puts up with a lot, you know. But I'm just in this sales journey of life right now. My corporate position is regional sales manager for a commercial roofing company. Outside of that, man, I'm just living like you guys are, right? Trying to be the best dad and husband I can, trying to make sure that my family's got everything they need for now and the future, just like you guys are. So just hanging out, doing the thing, grinding like Samnang said. That's all you can do, trying to make a future. So it's
Yeah.
been
Well,
fun.
and you've been in a couple sales roles. Have you been in sales?
No, so when we
Have you
got
been in
out,
sales primarily? Like
the last
since
10 years I've been in sales, I'd say 10, 12 years. But before that, I was in therapeutic recreation. So after high school, I was working camps for Fairfax County with kids and adults with disabilities. And then I was running a senior center for them for a while. And then after that, I kind of hit my
oh
ceiling.
wow.
And so I ended up getting a job with Special
Yeah.
Olympics, running their programs in Northern Virginia and Loudoun County for a long time. So did that for a few
No
years.
way. I didn't know that.
Yeah, man. That's where my passion was and still is. My family still does a lot of volunteer work with Special Olympics. And then I realized that, at that time I was a single dad. My daughter was, I don't know, 2. She's now 15. So I
Hmm.
left Special Olympics
Wow.
and got into real estate. Worked for a buddy's real estate company as an inside sales agent, just grinding the phones all day, setting the appointments. Sam Nang knows that's about. Danny knows you're grinding and calling people for your business all the time. And I was doing real estate really up until the beginning of this year, and put my license in referral status, and had an opportunity to come run a sales team for a commercial roofing company that a friend of mine is a manager of, and I'm loving it. Loving it.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So you're not
Thank
Nice,
you.
man.
anymore.
Say again?
you're tra- you're
Yeah.
a corporate trainer. You're a corporate trainer now.
Almost, almost. I'll get there.
Dang. You like Grant Cardone?
No, man, I'm gonna leave that to you. I like the peak
Yeah.
performance program. I'm a big fan of it. So we sell
Yeah, I'm
commercial
glad.
roofs.
I thought nice, nice. So commercial roofs products, plug the company, plug whatever you want and everything. And
All
then
right, cool.
I got some questions for you because yeah,
Absolutely. So the company's
go ahead. Plug
Reliance
your company.
Reliance Roofing out
Or
of
plug what you
Manassas, and anything commercial from shopping centers to office buildings to condo buildings. If it's got a flat roof, we're gonna work on it for you. And we cover everywhere from Baltimore down to
okay.
Roanoke, half of West Virginia out to the ocean. So big territory.
Nice.
Wow.
In in between jobs I sometimes pick up like sales jobs that are easy to pick up. I've done sales. That's pretty tough, man.
Yeah,
I've done the hailstorm damage, roof. I've knocked
yeah. So
Is
that's
that similar or is it different?
it's the same, except for instead of going after
Could-
homeowners, we're going after like commercial property managers, owners of
Uh-huh.
buildings, commercial sales agents,
Oh,
things like that.
yeah, I understand. That's a big growing business right now. Construction, setting the appointment, and just grinding out like when the company enough resources just to do it fairly quick. But I know that's a very growing business. So if anybody like, I think sales jobs are that teaches you the most grit. It teaches you the most like skills, and people don't want to do it. But those, even if you're a CEO, you still have to sell. So knocking on doors and do that, I still do that. I still call people on the phone and get rejected constantly. So it's like you have to keep bringing yourself up. You have to be around people that uh that know the grind, because I get in there and I'm like thinking this is gonna be easy, but then I get punched in the face like 10 times, and then I'm like, I gotta keep doing it, you know.
For now.
But I love your story, Eamon. I'm glad that you're a corporate trainer. Um that you're doing your thing and everything. I think I remember you having a kid at a very young age. In did you have your kid in high school,
Not in high school. That was Lathan.
or
um,
because she's
just 15. So I was
that was
22.
late?
Yeah. So I was 22 when my oldest was born. By the time I was
22.
23, I had sole custody of her and a single dad. So
Okay, I want to talk about that because men and like business and family sometimes, like, to me, like I take a lot of responsibility with like my divorce because of my entrepreneurship and like my riskiness and stuff. But like I like to talk about like family and personal development and stuff. I want to talk about like what challenges did you face as a sole custody dad doing business, where business is very risky. When you take sales job, it's sometimes commission based, sometimes it's the market that could affect it. It's very stressful, where like I thought I was doing good, and then something happens and you just can't keep the job, you know, or you have to shift. Like I had to make so many pivots as an entrepreneur. How do you handle that as a dad, a sole dad? Now you're married and you have kids and a wife,
so
more
yeah,
kids.
more kids. It was definitely tough at times. There was a lot of tears at night. A lot of times, there was times where, okay, do I pay the electric bill or do I pay the water bill? Right, this month. There is a point. One of
Yeah,
the reasons I went to sales is I had a great job that I loved, a salary job, but it just wasn't affording me the income I needed to provide for my daughter up here. And there was times where I had, my daughter was 2 or 3, and then my cousin, who was 12, he moved in with me. I got guardianship with him for a little while after my aunt passed away. So, having 2 kids and a dog and a mortgage trying to pay for, there was definitely a lot of nights where the kids were eating and then I was eating whatever's left over. Or this is what I told my daughter recently. She wanted to go out to dinner like every weekend, wanted to go to lunch. I'm like, kiddo, like that's not what we do. I was like, you got to realize like you can't spend money like that. I said, do you realize there was a time when you were a baby where we were so poor that I used to crush up dog food and baby food so that I'd have something to eat before payday? She was
damn.
like, there's no way. I was like, yeah. She's like, why would you do that? I was like, because I couldn't
Hmm.
afford anything else. I had to take care of you and Dylan first. And then whatever was left over, if anything, I got. And if there wasn't anything left over, you just got to make it work. So it was definitely a lot of tough times, a lot of tears, but we've gotten out of that space and worked my butt off. Just like you said, making those calls nonstop, getting rejected, moving on to the next one. But it's definitely a place that I will never go back to again, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's that's a tough spot too, man. At 22, because I know like when I had my first kid, I was 30. Let's see, he's 5, so I was 33, right? And when you have that kid, it just accelerates your maturity so much faster. Like your lens of the whole world changes. And at 22, man, like if I go back to when I was 22, it was like partying, snowboarding, and partying, right? Like that was basically my life. And it was like, how do I find the next party? And how do I snowboard, maximize my time on a snowboard? And that was it, right? And like the idea of a kid was just so far fetched. I remember I didn't even like think I ever wanted kids at that point in my life. Like I was in a weird space. So you grow up really fast, right?
Yeah, I could agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, there's something else that's interesting here, man, that I think a lot of people don't realize, and I think this is hyper relevant. I mean, everybody has different phases of their life and different parts of their journey. And here's the most interesting part to me is like, you know, you're talking about crushing up dog food, deciding which utility bill to pay, right? And being that poor at that time while also having a kid and the stress, the tears, all of those things that made that time really hard in your life is also the foundation to where you are today, right? And so many times I tell my wife this too, like as she has two different businesses and she goes through hard times where she wants to give up. And so many times I think we think about like our life and all the hardships that we go through. And I often preach like, if you are going through that hard time right now, pause and enjoy it. And it's such a weird thing to say because it doesn't feel enjoyable at the time. But what you just shared with now your daughter's like, hey, dad, I want to go out all the time. And you're like, well, let me tell you about the time that we were like scrapping, right? That is such an important part of your story and such an important part of how you're, you know, bringing new lessons back to your daughter and raising your child, right? And and now it's like in a way, you know, I always ask, like, you know, probably would never do it again in the sense of like, do I want to be that poor again? But probably wouldn't throw away that experience if I had to guess, right? I mean, like it's almost something that helps shape and make you.
Yeah. That's a good insight. That's tough, bro. I've uh being poor and coming like from the dirt. I like that song. I heard that song. Started from the bottom. Now we here. Sometimes, like either like I'm feeling down. I put that song. I'm like started from the bottom. Now we here, right? So it's like that story. Like when you talk about, you can't give up that story. That's who you are now. Right? That's from Eamon Garvey. That is the brand came from and stuff. So to me, building that story and hearing that from you is actually inspiring because I think you wanted to share this, right? Have you had the opportunity to share this like in publicly, or do you just share it with just like some of your networks? How do you? Okay, yeah, yeah. It's real. It's raw. That story. So you inspire like and me as a coach and always want to help our friends and everything. It's like that story is inspiring to tell when you're training other sales agents and stuff that are going through feast or famine. I've been there. Sometimes I get there, feast or famine, and those younger guys that are knocking on the door that are feast or famine, or getting that appointment set, and you telling that in story inspires them that hey, there's a way out of it by continuously doing this over and over. Because when you're young and like feast or famine and don't have anything, it's very easy to get discouraged. Even I, at 38 years old, with all this experience, gets discouraged as well too. So it's like that story that you brought out and shared with us and stuff. It's like continue to refine it, continue to tell it, continue to tell that story. I think it will inspire the next generation of hustlers. It's like that's what part of FIFO is. It's real, it's raw. I also wanted to like inspire other people that are entrepreneurs that are going through all their issues and problems and stuff too, but sharing that and being real and raw in your sales pitch, because like if you look at like Grant Cardone, the reason why he had a really good backstory of where he started, and I was like, that's very inspiring to see where he is. It's like those stuff inspire me. Those stuff I know they inspire you guys as well too and stuff. So I appreciate you sharing that message and everything.
And I think, there's another interesting piece on this too, right? Where it's like, and this is something else that I think a lot of people don't realize when they're going through those hard times is, and I try to use this even for myself today, because you still go through hard times. It doesn't matter. Like, and that's the part that I think of, like, there's a big misconception out there that there's success. And what people don't realize is success is just a fucking blip on the radar, right? It's a brief moment in time. Happiness is a brief moment in time. It's not this extended period where all of a sudden you reach the pearly gates of life and everything just works out great. Like, no, you go through ebbs and flows, but it's going to be different, right? And lifestyles change and things change. And like, for instance, for me right now, I still ride the roller coaster of revenue, right? And even though my revenues are much greater than they've ever been, and I have a staff of 8, but my commitment is way different now, right? Like, I'm like, shit, how am I going to make $15,000 of the payroll, right? And that's like a great problem to have versus like, how am I going to pay my electric bill? But what's interesting about it, and I know I use this, I'm curious, Eamon, if you go back to that moment, but because you've had that experience, when you go through the challenges of life now, I often go back to those dark moments and I reflect on that, and I actually practice gratitude when I'm struggling today, and I think about those dark times, those hard times, and then where I'm at now and how I overcame those, and how if I can overcome that, how I can definitely overcome where I'm at now. Have you ever practiced anything like that as far as like as you go through the ebbs and flows of life now?
Danny just got real. Yeah. Yeah.
Of course.
Oh. Right. I like
No,
that.
I think, yeah, that's awesome, man. And I think that there's a lot of merit to that, especially, and you hit the nail on the head too, right? As you hit different income levels, and like it's just part of our society where it's like, okay, well, we're gonna start taking on other expenses. And, there's a lot of interesting like gurus out there that talk about, like giving up your Starbucks, right? If you just gave up your Starbucks, you'd have $1 million in your bank account in the next 30 years, and all that kind of bullshit. And what I realized in my life, right, when we bought our house, oh, we lost him.
Oh shit.
Give him a sec.
Hopefully he gets back on.
There's a lag there.
Yeah, let me take a battery break. Get him back on. Let me message him.
He's back on. I think he's just gearing up here.
Oh.
I think he's it might be his internet, maybe. Old technical difficulties.
Okay. I'll do a little work.
While he's logging on, I mean, we can kind of reflect a little on that story, which is fascinating. I mean, dude, to me, it's like when I hear stories like that of people coming from like hard times, 22, young, just had a kid,
Yeah.
struggling with finances, struggling to figure out what to do. Like, they got a whole new life and now they got another life to take care of. And it just forces that growth, whether you want to or not. Right. I think that there's so many times in all of our lives that we all go through stuff like that. And I think that what I've realized is a lot of people try to hide from that. Hey, there he's back.
Hey, where'd you go? The bathroom?
Sorry about that. Yeah, no, I don't know what happened, man. I got to get a better internet
No worries.
whatever it is. Sorry about
All
that,
good.
gentlemen.
We'll continue on with the show where we left off. Danny was reflecting a little bit on your.
Yeah. So, I mean, just kind of going back into it, we were talking about like diving into that dark place, right? When things are tough. You had mentioned, keeping 500 or less. I think that's a great tip for people, to be like, man, I'm broke, like every day, to continually say that I'm broke, to continue to push for the grind, right? And where am I going to get the next check to cover my kids' sporting events or mortgage or whatever the case is? Um, and what I was going to say, as I was talking about, as far as spend is concerned, right? I went through a place where we were living in an RV for many years, and then we decided to buy a house. So I went from like literally maybe $1,000 a month in, covering RV costs and parking and everything else, to well over like $2,000-3,000 a month in just mortgage. And I remember my wife thinking we were crazy for doing it, right? And a lot of people probably like would have also agreed, like, it's kind of crazy. They keep living simply, and I think that there's some merit to that. So I don't discredit that. But on the flip side of it, there's also something to be said of when you do take on that next phase of your journey, when it's now you have a mortgage, or, you have 3 kids that you're supporting, you have all these other things, all these other expenses that come with making more money. In a way, it's almost a positive, not to say that you should always continue to spend, but it's almost a positive because it then forces you to look to the next thing and forces you to grow yet again. Because now all of a sudden, where if you were making 50 grand and you were living halfway okay, and now you're making 150 grand and because your expenses have also risen, you don't have the excess capital, which therefore is going to force you to go find excess capital. And then that's where, especially in like a sales role or in any type of environment where you kind of control your own destiny, I mean, that's got it's a critical aspect of it, right? To continue to push along and to fight that complacency, right, and the comfort. So I love that part of of it, man. And like I think, you know, there's something to be said for folks that are listening to this. Like, it's okay to spend. Just be You have to be okay. Like if you are not you have to reject comfort and complacency, and then yeah, go ahead and spend, and then realize like and have the confidence and conviction in yourself to be like, I'm gonna go get the next level.
Yeah.
Right.
And getting to the next level, like it's very uncomfortable. And I preach about it and say it all the time. If you're uncomfortable, there's a difference between uncomfortable and like there's a lot of growth when you get into uncomfortable situations. Like I did to stay in the grind, you know, I used to wrestle and I still bodybuild and I still an entrepreneur, right? For me it's the grind. I don't think there's ever a point where it I won't stay in the grind. I don't know, you know, things might change. I might go meditate under a tree when I'm at a certain age. You know, that's the goal, is to grind so hard that I get free. You know, I think having like a goal and a vision and stuff that helps you pull you towards this. For me, it's like I don't have goals. I have visions of like how I want my life and how I want my companies and businesses to be like and stuff. One question I have for you, Eamon, is since you're a big follower of Danny's content, I know you follow my content for a while as well as like personal development, now getting a little bit more into like spirituality and stuff. Not talking as in like church and God or anything, but like you're finding a little bit more purpose and you know, whether it be like health or entrepreneurship. What are you kind of working on right now in your personal development or like spiritual journey after you and our stuff at Peak Performance Academy and our podcast and stuff?
Absolutely. I got to be honest. I'm not a spiritual person whatsoever. It's just, I just, for me, it's just not for me. But one thing right now, and it's funny because I was going to reach out to you today after the podcast, is my health is a huge issue right now. Like, that's why I wasn't able to be on a few weeks ago, is because my blood pressure was out of control. Ended up in the hospital. It was like 193 over 151,
Yeah.
right? So right now, the biggest issue is my health, right? Is getting my health under control. Like, I've always been a big boy, right? In the last year, I've lost about 45 pounds. I got another 50
Nice.
to go this year. Got on
Dude,
got on all
that's
these
huge. I'm
medicines.
gonna pause you on that for 1 second. Dude, you lost 45 pounds this year?
Yeah, this past year,
Dude,
in like
Yeah.
that's
8 months.
crazy. Congrats, man. Let's
Thank
celebrate
you.
that for a minute. That's huge. Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
man. I'll send you guys a picture that a buddy of mine took when I was doing a class, and I looked at it and I was like, I sent it to my wife. I was like, "Is this really like the husband you married?" She was like, "I mean, yeah, you've always been a big boy. Like, it's one of the things I love about you." I was like, "Yeah, this is out of control though." And one of the things that happened is, so I quit drinking about 5 years ago.
Oh shit.
And yeah, I just hit my 5 year mark. And so like one thing I'm preaching to my 15-year-old is like, hey, if you're gonna drink, that's fine when you get older. Don't have more than 3 drinks at a time, right? Cap
Hmm.
yourself, right? You don't want to go down that alcoholic rabbit hole like I did, right? There's a lot of rough times with that. But so right now, my biggest thing outside of my business and my family is getting my health under control. So, taking the medicines I need to do. Losing the weight is going to be a big factor. I cut out fast food and sodas. I quit smoking cigarettes. I haven't had a cigarette in almost 3 weeks. Um,
Nice.
which is crazy. Yeah, my last cigarette, I remember I was sitting outside. The kids are all running in the cul-de-sac, and I was when I wasn't feeling good at all, and I took a drag of that cigarette. Just
You
didn't
still.
make me feel good, so I took an even bigger hit of the cigarette, and it made me feel really shitty. And that's when I knew I was like, I'll never do this again. I like to learn the hard way. I couldn't have just gotten rid of it the first puff. I had to take that second big drag and really, really make myself feel like crap. So you know, taking care of my health is, the doctor, and we'll get real for a second. Went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, "Hey, man, do you want to be around for Santa this year, 2024?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely. It's the most expensive time of the year for me." And I was like, "Why wouldn't I want to do it, right?" And he goes, "Cool." He goes, "Well, if you don't start doing what you need to do with your health," he goes, "you won't see Christmas this year." That's how serious it's got.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, she goes, and you're not going to die at work. You're not going to die out, on a roof at work or in a networking event. He goes, you're going to go to sleep, and your wife and your kids are going to wake up, and you're going to be dead in bed.
Damn.
And so
Yeah.
that was a real
Wait.
realization of like, we're all going to die, right? I know that, you know that. I'm one of the few people I say that isn't afraid of death. But I also don't want my wife and my kids to wake up to me dead in the house
Damn.
at 38
Yeah.
or 39. So I
Yeah.
uh, I took that real seriously. I texted some of my good buddies that I hang out with a lot that we'll go get late night Taco Bell or whatnot. I'm like, hey guys, if I say I need this, you gotta tell me, fuck no, not
Yeah.
happening. Or if like you guys are going to get it, like just don't invite me.
Yeah.
And so all my friends have been awesome. They've been checking in on me, every few days, like, hey, when's the last time you had a double cheeseburger, right? Because McDonald's got that deal, double cheeseburger and a McChicken for like $4 or $5. When you're on the road, man, that's an easy drive through the drive through, $5, and I'm out
Yeah.
the door. And now I'm eating, naan and hummus as snacks and cutting up cucumbers, and I love salad, so I'm eating a lot more salad. But so really just focusing on my health and really being aware of like, am I
Yeah.
hungry or am I just bored?
Yeah.
Right. Now that the weather's breaking, me and Bugs, my oldest, we walk at like 6 o'clock in the morning. She
Yeah.
likes to walk with me, so we go and do that. But really get, and I told her what was up. I was like, hey, my health's in real bad shape right now. I need your help, like not letting me do this and whatnot. I said, I'm gonna need everybody's help, being healthier and whatnot. So my wife and my daughter have been real good catalysts. My daughter will text me at like 1 o'clock, be like, "What'd you eat for lunch?" I'll be like, "Nothing." She's like, "You have to eat something, Dad." Because like I'll go all day. You guys do it too, probably go all day, not eat a thing because you're doing the grind. Um,
No, I always have
so
fun.
yeah, right, yeah.
What's your
So really, 2024 is really for me is going to be the year of my health, right? Is making sure because I can't bring in sales if I'm dead.
Yeah. You're
Right.
right.
It's just the facts of it.
Thank you for sharing. That was I appreciate you sharing, and of course we could support you. Of course I could support you in nutrition. Part of my coaching is and hearing you say that is it's a big wow, and like how your health affects your sales, how it affects your family and stuff, and talking about giving up drinking to actually really chase your health for your family, right? Most people think spirituality is like Jesus and everything. When I asked that question, I was like, you kind of explained to me you want to personally develop, which is I love it, because that is to me, for me, as I've been doing a lot of personal development, is spirituality and personal development is pretty much the same thing. The words are a little bit different, but you saying that you want to work on your fitness, you giving up drinking, and starting to come to this realization that there is more than just drinking and living this lifestyle, right? Health, it took you that big scare from the doctor to wake you up, right? A lot of people wait way too long, right? The longer to actually pay attention to your health and realize it, the longer it takes to get you out of the hole. And having you hear that and coming to realization that yes, you're eventually gonna die, but in this lifetime, if you stay healthy, you can make a greater impact uh, to humanity. To me, I've always like I don't like Danny's gonna ask you like what do you think about money and stuff. To me, is I always like um think about how do people want to remember you as, like a healthy person is themselves. For me, it's like when you guys see me and stuff, like I always like all the big influencer now, they're really big into like health and fitness and everything. And when they say like health is wealth, it's really true. The more fit you are, the more presentable you are, the more precise what your pitch is. That helps sales. That helps with your communications. That helps, like, if your boots on the ground. So instead of being able to hit 80 doors, you could do like 120 doors, right? If you max out at like 5 or 6 thousand steps, you get max out like at 12,000 steps. So you're gonna have that more energy, that more life too. And I'm super glad that you have gone that route. And if there's anything that we could chat later, and we could definitely do like a coaching call as well too. And how I coach is just guide people from step A to step B, step A to step B. And it's a very simple, it's not super complicated. People like want to get like meal plans and like nutrition and everything. You have a good understanding of nutrition and knowledge and everything, and that's basically just the one thing I do want to commend you on is you let your whole network know that, like your family, that I'm trying to get healthy, and your friends know that. And if they're supportive, keep them in your network. And if they're not supportive, that's you growing. And people that want to invite you to like the bars and stuff, you're in the path that you're growing. You can't be spending time at the bars. I know you got to do like networking events and stuff, but like you can still network without drinking alcohol. If you find ways to be interesting conversations, I think there's that, because I gave up drinking about 8 years ago when I started pursuing bodybuilding, uh, having kids, and the level of clarity and the level of thinking is a lot faster. So being able to make hard decisions and stressing out less, that comes with health too. So I commend you, man, and I love to support you. Okay.
Absolutely, I appreciate it. Yeah, and I know Danny, didn't you stop drinking a little while ago too? I saw on the podcast you were going to do, was it dry January or sober October, one of the two. And it's just, I love drinking, right? Still to this day, like, especially now the weather's getting nicer. This is the hardest time for me. It's getting nicer, sit outside, have a nice cold beer. But, it's just one of those things that it just, for me, it had taken over and it wasn't serving a good purpose, right? And at that point, I was just about to have my third child, and it was just realization that, hey, like, you can't continue on this path, still have a good relationship with your wife and kids. You got to either choose being an alcoholic or you got to choose being a family man. Those two didn't work well together for me, and so I wasn't, you know, shit, man. My wife's smoking hot and she's awesome. My kids are awesome. So I was like, that's much better reward there than, going to the bottom of a bottle at a bar.
Well, I
Yeah.
think there's
So,
something too, man. Like, and this is an interesting thing that I found. So I quit drinking back actually in June, and I
okay.
really was just going to do 2 months, right? So it was right when my third son was born. I was going to do 2 months, and I just needed to. I didn't. I drank heavily, like I drink a lot, but I didn't drink to the point that I was starting to get in trouble, right? Like, but there was definitely causing problems in my life. So I gave it up for 2 months, and one of my clients, he has been sober for 15 years. He's a multimillionaire, super wealthy, super smart guy. He's an investor. And I flew out to Wisconsin to do, a company meeting with him. And I started telling him about where I'm at. And he was like, hey, there's this thing called PAWS, post-acute withdrawal syndrome. And he's like, you need to go 6 months to really get through that part of it. So I was like, all right, cool, I'll go 6 months. So I went 6 months, and then I had my first couple drinks this year. And the interesting thing is, because I wanted a new relationship with it, right? And like, I think that's an interesting take, even on like your diet. It's a new relationship. And I think if you, that was something that actually a buddy of mine told me. He went to AA multiple times, went to jail for alcohol. And I
Mm.
called him when I was going through my journey, and he was like, Danny, he was like, you don't have a problem like I did. So like, don't put yourself in that bucket. You just need a new relationship with it. And that really opened up my eyes to understanding it, right? Because it's like, I do like the rituals of it. I do like the experience of it. I especially like it. I realized, like, in going sober, I realized like I like the culinary experience. But then when I tried alcohol again for the first time after 6 months, I realized I lost the palate for it. Like it wasn't even it wasn't even like a forced thing. It was just truly like I don't like the taste of this.
Yeah.
And it really changed a lot for me and my perceptions. And then the interesting thing, like when you're talking about your health and you're talking about what you want to do, I think there's something that I've realized recently. Samnang brought this to my attention, right? And that is if you can align what you're trying to do with your health. So cutting out the fast food, the quick and easy stuff, right? Switching over to more healthy things. If you can align those actions with something that's greater for you and your family, and that can be more time with your family. It could also be, the death that you would prefer to have, right? Striving towards a better death than just waking up at 38 dead in your bed with your kids all around. Um, that's one area, right? But then the other area that you can attach that to is just like Sam Nang said, where it comes into your business life, right? And what happens is, and what happened for me is when I quit drinking, I was actually facing foreclosure on my house.
Nice.
I was in a very bad monetary space. So when I quit my job, I quit my job in January. I had a huge first month. I made like $42,000 my first month, just myself. And I just like was like, oh, I made it, and I blew money. Like we took the family to Disney, took the wife to Puerto Rico, all the wrong things that you should do. I wasn't out there grinding. And then fast forward to June, I'm like, oh shit, I burned through 42 grand real quick. Um, so I'm like, now I'm dead broke, and literally I'm missing payments, missing credit card payments, the whole nine. I was in a bad spot. So what I did was when I went sober and I started biking every day, those little actions started bringing more confidence to my life. And what I realized is very similar to habit stacking if you read Atomic Habits. But I started like taking steps. And next thing you know, the small little changes of working out, dropping weight, feeling more confident in myself, being able to hop on camera, share my story, not giving a fuck. Those things just kept growing and growing and growing and growing. And then all of a sudden, when I started pitching like deals for my business, I realized I don't care if you work with me or you don't. I know I have a good solution. I know I can help you. And I'm going to position my message in such a way that is going to allow you to purchase from me, not that I'm going to sell to you. And that was largely in part due to the confidence of the work that I put into my own personal self development in the process, right? And I'm going back through that journey yet again now. Just went through a chiropractor, so I'm like aligned. I'm working on my posture, and now Sam Nang's been really inspiring me. And this is another one that I didn't ever do. I do it in other places in my life with visualization, but I had my first experience with it just a couple weeks ago. I wanted to tell you, Sam Nang, but I looked at myself in the mirror with my shirt off,
Yeah.
and I literally could see, just like if you had like an AI system like right on your phone, I literally could see the body that I could be in the
Nice.
mirror, right?
Oh yeah.
Like truly visualize that of what I would look like. And that now I'm like, okay, I'm going to work towards that. And then it's like, okay, now how do I align this fitness goal with the next part? So for me and my business right now, I'm working on getting really replacing myself as the operator of the business. So I'm in the process of W-2ing myself. I'm going to bring on a general manager to take over the business. I want to step out and start working on the business and other facets. So to do that, I'm now focusing in yet again on my body. And I've learned that if I can detach my mind from my body, that's where I'm getting more success.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll leave you on that thread, and this is something, so I've been big into Marcus Aurelius recently, and
Okay.
meditations and stoicism.
He's got some insight.
So the thing that he talks about a lot of is being able to release the pleasures and the pains from your life, right? That is a bodily function. Pleasure and pain is bodily. It's not mind or it's not spiritual. And again, not to go, I'm not religious at all by any stretch of the matter. I was forced into Catholicism as a kid. I hated it. I literally
With
lied to
you.
the priest. Like, dude, I fucking trust me. Like, I'm not
Going to
religious. My
confession
wife
every
was,
week.
yeah, no, dude, it was terrible. So But this has helped me understand a little bit more. Like, I do believe in the energies. I believe in like spirits. I don't necessarily believe the traditional method of it, but I do believe that we share a common energy, right? Like, and that's something that that Samnang talks about in like raising vibrations. You know, like, I'll tell you right now, I guarantee you that every single one of us today are going to have a great fucking day because we decide it and because we're sharing that energy, right? And
Yeah.
we can manifest that. So what I'm working on today is removing the pleasures, like not caring about it, right? And it could be everything from sex, it could be food, it could be eating a great meal, it could be staying in bed longer, right? All these things that like Marcus talks about, like, is that what you were really brought here to do? Like that one pleasure. Like if we let that pleasure take over our life, are you really brought here to just indulge in, you know, McDonald's or indulge in these things? No, right? So it makes the decision to not do that much easier, right? Because then it's like, if you can think back to that in that moment of like, you know what, this is just a bodily thing. This has nothing to do with me. This has nothing to do with what I'm going to go do. This is just my body craving this bullshit. And I have a strong enough mind to be able to be like, you know what? I don't need that pleasure. I
Yeah.
got enough pleasure within myself. I got enough pleasure with what I'm doing that I don't need that shit. And this is just a bodily impulse. And I'm aware of that. Right. And just simply understanding that has helped me so much.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's where like Sam Nang will talk to that as, you know, the spirituality part of it. But it's powerful, man. Like when you can release yourself of the pleasures and the pains of life and realize that, like, if I were to come over and cut your arm right now, you'd be like, "Oh, what the fuck, man?" Right? But realizing that literally that pain is just a bodily signal. That's all it is. That's
Really,
why like monks
that's
can
really
light themselves on fire and shit. You know?
no, I love it, man. I could tell you've been meditating and you just kind of been getting into the personal development as well. You could tell when somebody's meditating because of the insight that they share, that it's different. I could tell Danny has been meditating and thinking about detaching from expect is it expectation or results, right? When you detach from that, that's actually when you get the best results. Of like, to me, it's like I always want to chase money, but the more I keep chasing money, the more it eludes. I don't know how to say it right. So it's one of those things like you just gotta kind of detach away from the results, because the attachment to things, and it's very Buddhist as well too. That's why Buddhism and uh f- uh uh Stoicism kind of relate. And people think Buddhism is religious. It's more of just like a practice of like, what Danny's doing is he's reflecting, he's meditating, he's thinking about his death, right? So it's like, Eamon, you're doing exactly the same thing. You're thinking about your death. You say you're not afraid of death. That is some philosophy that you've developed over yourself, and that yourself, as you developing yourself, I call it self actualization. Is like you gave up the alcohol. The social pressure lets you be Eamon Garvey. The social pressure that you gave away from alcohol lets Danny be Danny, because we're not attached to that beer or that alcohol or that feeling. You're actually training yourself, which is what I can see in Danny. He's training himself to not be so attached to things. If money comes, it's good. If you know things come, it's good, right? Because emotions ebb and flow, right? It's not that you don't feel anxiety, it's not that you don't feel anger, it's not that you don't feel these emotions. Is that if you're meditating and thinking about it, the energy will move across and you won't be stressed out. Now, how much you can train it depends on you. Like, I meditate pretty regularly, and it's a normal practice, because being an entrepreneur, being trying to be a professional athlete, trying to have financial freedom, trying to build a business, have kids, is very stressful, right? We wouldn't say it's easy. We didn't choose, like most men that are getting it, didn't choose an easy life. Marcus Aurelius, he's an emperor, but he didn't choose an easy life. He chose to fight temptations. That's why his wisdom still to this day resonates with gentlemen people like us, because that's a way to think. And the way he think, like, is starting to instill in like Danny's philosophy is that no matter what, you still do what you need to do, and you have your own code of ethics. Marcus Aurelius had his own code of ethics. He was able to be tempted with women, money, alcohol, everything, crime. He could have done everything, but part of his meditations and his journal was to write down that, hey, this is what he developed as his personal philosophy and his ethics, and it's just basically a set of journals. And journaling is great practice. I do every morning. I don't do it, often now. I meditate more, but journaling is a good practice of just saying, hey, I'm grateful for this. Hey, today might suck, but tomorrow's gonna be like this. It's just a simple practice, and I'm glad to hear I have some influence on you guys.
Oh yeah, man. Like I'll tell you what, when I saw that you guys were starting a podcast, right? Like we knew of each other in high school. Samnang and I had more of a relationship than Danny and I had, but like we knew of each other. Might have been different circles. Always were like, "Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?" Right. So when I saw that you guys were getting together, I was like, "This is awesome," because it's people that I know, like, and trust, right? And then when I started listening to it and realized, like, oh shit, like these dudes are, I'm not like in a bad spot necessarily. I'm just going through the same shit everybody else is at times, right? And so that's been really awesome. And actually, because so I didn't listen, I've never listened to a podcast until FIFO was the first podcast I ever listened to, right? And you got
Nice.
to realize I'm in the car all the time, right? Driving around. And now I haven't turned the radio on in months. All it is podcasts, whether it's like self help, whether it's sales, whether
Yeah,
it's, Two Bears, One Cave is one of my favorite with Bert Kreischer, and then, right, something light. It's podcasts. And I'm like, how was I sleeping on this? But it's because, you know, it was different. It was something new. I didn't really know anything about it, but then I was like, oh, two guys I know are doing it. Well, shit, this got to be cool. And then it started opening my eyes and the doors to other podcasts and things like
yeah,
that. And now it's all I listen to is podcasts.
yeah,
And that's, dude, right there in itself, Eamon, is the same shit that happens and that you're going through right now as you're going through this health journey, right? And every decision that you make, every action that you make, when it's like resisting that pleasure center to go get the big meal or to eat the midnight snack or whatever it is, right? Like whatever it is that you make the decision to not go down the unhealthy route, that action, just like taking the step to listen to the podcast, only opens up more opportunities, and you basically put on a new lens
yeah,
Yep,
of the world. And you start, it's
100%.
the red car theory, right? You've heard the red car theory,
Mhm.
right? It's the
Yeah,
same concept where it's like now all of a sudden you start seeing more red cars because you're incentivized to do so, right? And it's really quite tremendous when it comes to that process. So I got a thing for you to try moving forward. Okay,
all right.
wait until you get to like a real craving. Okay, I mean like one of those that like you're like you're as soon as your mind goes into the space of like fuck it, I deserve it. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck what Danny says. I don't give a fuck what the world says. I fucking deserve it. I'm gonna eat the ice cream. I'm gonna get the McDonald's. I'm gonna do whatever the fuck it is, right? When you have that mindset, before you make the action to commit to taking in that pleasure, I want you to ask yourself right then and there, is this going to move the needle for me in the right direction?
Wish we did this
That's it.
yesterday morning. So,
Yep.
and I'll tell you why I love that. Right? Is so yesterday I wanted Taco Bell like crazy. I've been craving Taco Bell, so I did it. I said, "Fuck it." I've been busting my ass the last few weeks. You know, let me go. So instead of getting the Taco Supreme meal with nachos, I got two tacos. Right? I devoured. I pulled into a parking spot. I ate the shit out of those tacos. Man, they were so good. 5 minutes later, I felt like shit,
mm,
like physically. Then
yeah.
once that physical feeling and shit came in, my mental state for like an
So,
hour was fucked. I was like, man, did you really just do that? Like, was it worth it? Was it really those two tacos? Was it worth it? Because now your stomach hurts, you're sluggish. Now you're all up in your head feeling like shit. And I'll tell you what, man, I lived through that yesterday. It wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
Right.
Wasn't worth it at all. And it's crazy to think that, 3 weeks ago, I would have devoured 3 times as much Taco Bell. Still feel like shit, but I've been like, oh, well, it is what it is. And keep on moving. So now 3 weeks later, I'm like Taco Bell's right there. I'm like, I don't even want that shit. I don't
You're
even
right.
want it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild. And can I just talk about the drinking for 1 second? My
Yeah.
wife has been telling me I need to start a podcast on like my non-drinking journey. And a couple of friends that do podcasts have wanted me on. And I'm like, no, I don't want to talk about it because there's a lot of celebration on sobriety, whether you're California sober, whether you're completely sober, whatever it is, right? I don't get the celebration on sobriety. And it because you're celebrating that you finally decided that you can't be an adult and like for me and drink. So why am I celebrating that I can't act like an adult and only have a couple drinks?
Yeah.
Right? So I don't look at my sobriety as a celebration. I look at it as like you finally decided you could be an adult and this is like your punishment for not acting like an adult for all those years, right?
Yeah.
And so I've talked to a couple of friends of mine or acquaintances and they're like, what do you know? Completely opposite views. My wife's like, don't you think there's people out there that had the same viewpoint as you? I was like, but they don't want to put it out there just like you don't because all they see is everybody celebrating how great, oh, I've been 2 months sober. And listen, whatever helps you stay sober, stay healthy, whatever it is, however you got to celebrate that or however you internalize that, I will celebrate that with you, right? Like one of my good friends who got me into real estate, he just hit a year of sobriety last week. I saw a social media post. I called him up. I was like, hey, man, like, this is awesome. Congratulations. I'm so proud of you. Like, you're killing it. If there's anything I can do to help you, let me know. He's like, thanks, man. And he's been very upfront about his journey and he's got a big following. And he was like, why don't you come on my podcast and talk about it? And I was like, man, I don't really celebrate my sobriety. It's more of a punishment.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, but no, you can't look at it that way. I was like, but I can't. Like, you can't tell
Well,
me. And that's how I've stayed sober is that in my tracker. I'm not resetting that tracker of 5 years and over $100,000 saved, right?
I
You
think
yeah.
I
know,
in that same tool with that $500 in your bank account. It's a tool that you're using, which is it's good, right? So it's like you don't need any validation to explain or anything. Like your story is inspiring itself that you didn't announce it, like saying that because I didn't announce that I went sober. I stopped drinking, and then I just showed the results of what I did
Yep.
after because I literally had a birthday party at 30. I was like, this is it. I'm gonna stop drinking. I literally got drunk as fuck with all my friends from like my gym and my close networks. Got really drunk, so felt really shitty. So by the time I had another drink, like when you guys introduce stuff that you know that's not good for you, it's your body telling you that it's not good for you. It's the same as like people. There's gonna be people that you're gonna notice like they're not good for me, right? Once you start to eliminate alcohol. And the same with alcohol when you reintroduce it, or even junk food, just like you said, Taco Bell, your body really doesn't want it because you're starting to make this change. So I'm glad that like you even changed the alcohol, you even changed like your nutrition and stuff, and you're having friends that or supporting you as well too. And that's cool to hear that we're the first podcast that you heard, and it's inspiring because I started getting to personal development with my friend Dean, who was one of the original podcasters, and I started listening to podcasts. I pretty much gave up like just like regular programming from like TV and radio and stuff, and then started doing personal development work. I've been doing it for a while, but it's personal development. I think anybody should start like you'll regret that you didn't start earlier. You'll regret why you didn't give up the alcohol rather, because this makes you feel better in general, like when you're growing and like getting healthier and stuff. So no, I is
And
you don't have to celebrate it, I think, but sharing the message is important, because even when I talked about alcohol and people knew me, I wasn't a very big drinker. I talked about alcohol, and it's funny that most people, a lot of people had some insights and feedback and comment about alcohol. They were like, "I'm glad you're sharing this." I was never like an alcoholic or anything, but people said that they were glad they were sharing, that I was sharing it. I'm glad that we're also talking about alcohol, because I have a lot of people that are either trying to quit or trying to get experience or insight and see what the benefits are. There's a ton of benefits, I can tell you, that from stop drinking, because digestion has a direct correlation to your brain. How fucked up your gut is if you're drinking beer and yeast and your gut lining is all inflamed, and it goes straight to your brain, right? I talk about brain fog all the time, that's indecision. There's people out there that know that they should be doing something. They should be eating healthy. They should be going to the gym. They should be contributing to society, but their brain is inflamed because of alcohol, and it creates brain fog, which, like I said, it takes a long time for you to do something versus somebody that doesn't have brain fog. They could decide, okay, I want to start a podcast next Tuesday or on Monday, whatever, right? It's that simple of quicker, 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 quicker. You know, that for me is the benefit of quitting alcohol. And Danny talked about this Atomic Habits, and I read that book as well too. Is actually,
Great book.
and this is how I coach: is you shift your identity of who you are, right? If you shift, hey, I'm this healthy person, I'm an inspiring person, I'm gonna teach people about health and how that helps. Like if your identity changes to that, you're changing yourself at the core into your subconscious brain, right? So you're actually changing the way your brain is wired, because you are changing how you eat, how you develop, and everything. So when you change your identity, that's what happens. Instead of actually just saying, "Hey, I want to quit alcohol," but still not make progress. Once you change your identity and who you are, that makes it so much. It makes it easier to stick to the plan. Of course, there's like
Mm.
hard days. Like I still have hard days, giving up like certain things that I need to give up. Uh, but it makes it easier to stick to the plan in the long term. So
And I think to pull the thread on that too, like Eamon, going back to your philosophy on it, right? Like I don't need to celebrate this shit. I'm just being an adult now, and like there's what's to celebrate, right? And I think that that's exactly like what Sam Nang's saying. And you're right. You don't need to celebrate it. Why? Because you're a new person. And why the fuck would you celebrate it? Right. And so I totally get that mindset. And I think that that's actually a great message. So I totally agree with your wife. And that's brownie points right here. Right. So,
Right, yeah.
but, but no, I mean, honestly, man, like, you're right, and I think that so many people don't realize that. So if you were like if you're the same person and you're quitting alcohol, then yeah, you might celebrate your wins of being sober and so on and so forth. I also feel very similar, right? Like I'm now 8 months in, and I don't like tout my months. I don't like, throw it out there and I'm like, I'm 8 months, like woohoo. Cause I'm very much of the same mindset. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like I'm just a new person now. And like
yeah,
I don't need to celebrate that. Like that was a shitty part of my life. And I know what that's done for my life. But like the fact that I'm gonna continue this sober journey, it's not that I need to continue continual affirmations. My life is the affirmation for it. And it's like, and so I totally agree with that. And I think it is a unique perspective that people need to hear because, and look, there's not, just like you said, there's nothing wrong with celebrating your wins, right? There's nothing wrong with celebrating going sober, and those that need that, do it, and that's part of understanding yourself. And what that basically tells me from you is that you are a very strong person, and you have a lot of conviction in yourself and you have a lot of confidence in yourself. That's why you don't need to celebrate it. If you were insecure about this process, you would probably need the affirmations. You probably put it out there more. Been 5 years. Look at my track record. Look at what I've done, because you need that constant reaffirmation. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're that kind of person, you're just not wired that way. You're wired a little different. And there's a lot of other people out there that are wired like you too. That's like, no, fuck it. Like I'm just an adult now. I don't fucking celebrate that shit. Onward to the
Yeah.
next.
you're actually like saying like you actually should be doing this, not like it makes, yeah. I mean, love it.
You know,
Yeah,
like listen, if someone is going to celebrate it, I'll be right there to celebrate it with them. Whatever is going to help them on their journey. But different stroke. This is one of my favorite lines. Different strokes for different folks. You know,
Mm-hmm.
especially now we're in this election year. You know, you jump on social media, it's all the bullshit, right? It's like people are like, oh, what do you think? Different strokes for different folks, man. You
you're right.
know, everybody's got their own way of doing it, things like that. But I'll tell you one thing. I'm gonna put it out there because I know you guys will hold me accountable. Is I'm gonna run a 5K. Is that the smallest one you can run? Right, 3.5 miles. All right.
Yep.
So, and it was funny. I just decided this while we're on this podcast. You know, we're talking about health and wealth, and I'm like, you know what? I remember in high school in PE, it used to take me 22 minutes to run a mile. 22 minutes to run a mile. I would fake sick when I knew we had to run the mile and shit, or the pacer. So this year with the health, I'm gonna run. You know, they always have those turkey trots and shit, dude. Usually, me and a couple of my neighbor dads will get together before everybody's got to start cooking. We'll burn a joint.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do a 5K on Thanksgiving this year.
awesome.
So
Oh
I'm
yeah.
gonna put it out there, and
I
I'm
got
gonna have I'm gonna pay for Samnang to come join me as well.
I
I'm gonna
got
need some support. He's gonna
I
be
got
like, "Come on, boy, hurry up."
I got a challenge for you because I know you like Grant Cardone, and you probably heard about the 10x rule.
Yeah,
All right, so 5K, but I want you to keep this goal in mind, a marathon. Okay, so 5 times 5 is 25. So that's 5x goal. Your goal. So if you want to do an ultra marathon, a marathon is good,
yeah,
right? That's some accomplishment. 5K is good start, but the more when you do that 5K and have that goal of a marathon, because a marathon is definitely you gotta train for it.
yeah.
Gotta kind of change. You gotta pretty much change your whole lifestyle, your whole eating habit to get there. 5K, I think it's a great stepping stone. But I think the 26.2 mile. If you want to be inspired, run the
All
Marine
right,
Corps marathon. Or go watch the Marine Corps marathon
yeah,
because that is I ran it one time and I was like, it teaches you a lot of grit, a lot about yourself when you're in that. It's almost like that David Goggins style. So
yeah.
I'm
All right,
glad putting it out there. I challenge you to 5X it. It doesn't have to have a deadline, but I think that's a
all right.
fantastic goal, and I'm
So
glad you.
I'm gonna run the 5K on Thanksgiving, and then we're gonna train for a marathon in 2025.
That's it,
Hey,
man. And look, and to Sam Ning's point, because I saw your reaction when he threw out the marathon, Amon.
Oh my god, let's
Listen,
do it.
this is where you need to take that mindset though, just like you took with alcohol, right?
Yeah,
And you don't need to fucking celebrate it. And here's the deal, dude. I guarantee you that if I flew up there right now and I held a fucking gun to your head and I said you're not going to stop moving for 26.2 miles, I don't give a fuck. You will survive. You will
yeah,
do it,
yeah,
right? And just knowing that you can fucking do it is the key,
yeah,
right? And that's the key. And that's what, like, so that's awesome. Get the 5K done. That's achievable. That's 100% doable. You'll get that done. Like, that's already done, dude.
yeah,
Like,
5K.
right.
no problem. Don't sweat it. And realize, like, and whether you end up doing the marathon or not, realize that that is actually attainable and real and tangible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And if you keep that in the mindset, then the 5K is going to come so much easier. So I love that, Sam Nang.
yeah,
yeah,
5K is
absolutely.
gonna be a nice thing because you're gonna be so addicted to food. Because I did 10K and then I did 2 half marathon. I was like, why the fuck not just do a marathon, right? Something that could be very like something that you could hold and be proud of. A
Yeah.
5K, a good people do it, but I think that's just a stepping stone. So I love it, but I think you have to get going, right? I think we're kind of
Yeah,
running.
I do. I have my night. So I got this awesome podcast, and I have every Friday. I'm part of a dad's group here. We meet here up in there, and then we do some outings and stuff. Try and build those. Because guys, we don't build relationships or friendships when we're older like this. So it's a big part of it. And then I got 2 more networking events today, man. Going to the weekend strong. But guys, I love y'all. I really
Yeah,
appreciate you having me on. Anytime I can be a guest, I would love to. and we'll be in touch. I got to say, you guys, because you guys have put this together, you guys have opened my eyes to a whole new world, like we talked about earlier, podcasting and health and wealth. But keep grinding, keep doing what y'all are doing. I love seeing your daughters, Samnang. They're gorgeous. Danny, your boys are fucking wild as shit, just like you, which is awesome. But
You're
yeah,
nuts.
Samnang, we got to get you out to the cabin here soon. You're only like 45 minutes from our cabin out at Bryce.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
And Danny, anytime you want to fly up, brother, you're always welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, doors open down here in Florida for both of you guys too.
We might be in Florida, not this June, next June for my 40th birthday. We
Nice.
might do a road trip, might rent an RV and do a road trip and head down through Florida and back up. So
Hell
if
yeah,
if
man.
we do it, man, I'll definitely let you know. I have to pull up to your driveway for a couple days.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And if like I said, dude, we lived in an RV for 7 years, so happy to give you the insights there
Yeah,
too on some different places to stay.
absolutely. All right, gentlemen. Well, hey, I
Yeah.
appreciate
Glad.
everything you guys are doing and keep kicking ass.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
This time
Well, I
next year,
appreciate you
Danny and I
joining.
are both going to have our shirts off.
That's it, dude. Look, I've been like every time, at least Sam Thing's got his sleeves on today, but like normally he comes in sleeveless, and I'm like, motherfucker, like,
So I had that. If he came in with a tank top, I was going to rip my stuff off and I was going to be roll my sleeves up, be like, what now? All right, gentlemen.
All
Hey,
right.
you guys have a beautiful day. I
Yeah.
appreciate everything
You,
you're doing.
all right, bro.
All right.
Appreciate you
See
being
y'all.
on.
See
Danny,
See
ya.
you, man.
the show.
And that about wraps it up, man. I think that, dude, Eamon's story is awesome. And I think, that's something that a lot of people probably resonate with. And I think there's so many pieces of this puzzle, right? Like between, going through the hard time early on and, really still being a kid. I consider 20s being a kid, right? So going through that moment, having his own kid, forcing the growth, and then going through the personal journey now, and now dropping 45 pounds last year, staying five years sober. I got no doubt in my mind that Eamon's going to crush a 5K this year,
Could do a
and he's
marathon.
going to get his shit straight.
I think he'll do a marathon. I bet you he's gonna get very addicted to it and the personal development journey and how it like benefits him, and then how he, it's gonna affect his business and stuff. So, and just being around, good influences and stuff. So I wanted to challenge him that because a 5K is good, but a marathon's cooler. So it's like,
No, and I love that, dude. And I think that's so true, man. Like, and that's you know what? It doesn't downplay the current goal, but it makes the current goal that much more realistic, right? And I love that part of it.
he's gonna look like a piece of cake now where he's like, "Yeah, this is easy, it's gonna be easy, then he's gonna be like, maybe that 5K was realistic, and his mind now is circulating that 26. Because when I talk about like millionaire, like I keep talking about millionaire before, like, when I was younger, seems so far, but now it's like, okay, just a millionaire. Okay, it's just $1 million, right? It's just $1 million. Because like I want $10 million, I'm thinking $10 million in my head. So it's like, okay, it's just $1 million, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
and keep grinding. I don't know when I'm gonna get it. I don't know. So that's
Look, it's a thousand sales at $1,000. That's all $1 million is, right? Or it's 10,000 sales at $100. That's all it is. So it's just, and there's plenty of people in this world to be able to do that, and there's plenty of value. And I know it's spot on, man. And it's like, look, when you set those goals, like you have to like, and I've been going through this myself, and even now with my physical journey and like the things that we've talked about, right? Um, as I set these goals for myself, it is beyond the immediate, right? And it's like, okay, the first hurdle. So, for instance, in the 5K is the first hurdle. If I crush a 5K, I'm onto something, right? And
mm-hmm.
that's kind of like that is the affirmation that he needs. Maybe he doesn't need to celebrate it, but that's what he needs. Like, if I make that accomplishment, then I know that I'm on the right track, right? And it's a milestone, but it's not the end goal. And that's 100% accurate. And I think so many times when we set up these goals, we're setting up more milestones and not really full blown goals, right? And then it's like, well, actually, no, a marathon is the goal. That's the next milestone. So now my first milestone is going to be the 5K, but the bigger milestone, the bigger goal is going to be the marathon.
Yeah.
So then now all of a sudden the 5K becomes a part of that journey. And guess what? After the 5K happens, then I'm going to do 2 marathons in a year, 3 marathons. I'm going to bump it up to an ultra, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
That's the way that it works,
It's
right?
little mental trick that he plays, and you're playing on it. We're all playing a little bit of like a mental trick to like trick you to do these activities. But no, I enjoyed that conversation with Eamon. I'm glad that I didn't realize that we were his first podcast. I thought he was a podcaster and everything, and it's cool to hear that. Actually, that was very inspiring, because it was like, okay, we started a podcast and we inspired one guy. We did good,
That's a win, dude. Like, look, that's just it, man. And like, look, this is like that is the fuel to the fire, right? And that to me, like in doing this type of stuff, and really a lot of the things in my life is like if I can impact one human being in a positive manner, and it just helps their life, then I'm happy, right? And even as we do what we're doing here, I mean, just if one person like Eamon, it helps him and it opens his eyes to other opportunities and other podcasts. We may not be the best, we may not be the biggest. Who the fuck cares? It doesn't matter. We made an impact on someone's life, right? And like that's it, dude. Like we're winning, right? And like that's part of this message, and that's part of everything that we're doing. So I'm ecstatic, man. I'm jazzed up.
Yeah,
So look, that being said, let's wrap this podcast up, and then I know we'll sync up after that because we got about a half hour before my next one.
yeah.
So this is FIFO, flow in, flow out. We just had Eamon Garvey on. Super fascinating story. Episodes going to be dropping every Monday at 6 a.m., Friday at 4 p.m. This is all about raising the collective vibrations. Samnang man here's and personal development. I also do a lot in personal development, although it's not my career path. It is Samnang's career path. And our mission here is to get together and share inspiring stories and help inspire you to become a better human being while we become better human beings in the process and we grow in public. So that's it. Thanks for being a part of the podcast. And yeah, Samnang, you got anything else you want to say on this one?
No, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was very inspiring. It's inspiring to hear other people's story as well too, and I think that's the idea, the vision of our podcast, and the alignment continues to, happen each day, and the vision keeps growing and everything. So I'm super glad to hear that podcast. I'll be listening it over it again, and for me, Eamon, I've known him since high school, and just seeing people's different stages of life and growth and everything, to me it's very cool. It doesn't matter if it's just a regular person with a regular job, but growing is what excites me. That's why, like, I'm in the personal development field, and I thoroughly enjoy it. I could talk about it for like another hour, but we got to end the show, and we got it every two weeks, so I have an opportunity to share my message as well too, and part of my personal development journey, just after going through all my hard traumas and everything, is to spread my message as well too, because it really helps me feel genuinely happy on the inside, at peace on the inside. So I'm glad that I could change people's perspective on spirituality as well too. Spirituality is not God and religion. It's, for me, it's personal development, really thinking, reflecting, pushing hard to uncomfortable things. It would be working out, training, making money, being the best you can. To me, that's elevating the collective vibrations and stuff. And I think we're on to something. And I
Oh,
love it.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the end of this podcast. Thank you guys.
Okay.